Once upon a time, in a lush jungle filled with all kinds of animals, there lived a peacock who thought he was the best-looking bird that had ever existed. His feathers were a beautiful shade of blue and green, and they were so long and flowing that he thought he was simply magnificent. He would strut around the jungle floor, shaking his tail feathers and preening his wings, and boast to every animal he met, "Oh, look at me, I'm the most handsome bird in the whole wide world." All the animals would sigh and roll their eyes when they heard this, but none of them had the heart to tell him that he was untasked handsome as he thought he was. That is, except for one. Deep in the forest, there lived a wise old crane who had seen many seasons come and go. Unlike the peacock, she had never been vain or boastful. Instead, she spent her days looking after her garden, helping other animals, and watching over the little birds that nested in her trees. One day, the peacock was strutting through the forest, admiring his reflection in a small pool of water, when he came across the crane in her garden. He stopped in his tracks and stared at her for a moment, and then he burst out laughing. "Ha ha, look at this silly bird," he said, mockingly. "She thinks she can compete with me in terms of beauty. Just look at those drab brown feathers. Yuck." The crane looked up from her flowers and sighed. She had been expecting this kind of comment from the peacock for a long time now. So she simply replied calmly, "Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. We all have our own unique looks, don't we?" The peacock scoffed and ruffled his feathers. "Unique? Huh, you call these feathers unique? They're ugly. And you're just jealous because you aren't as handsome as I am," he said, puffing out his chest. The crane simply smiled and shook her head. She knew that the peacock was too full of himself to listen to reason, but instead of arguing with him, she decided to show him what it was like to be truly beautiful. She invited him to take a walk with her through the forest and see all the wonders that nature had to offer. At first, the peacock was hesitant. He didn't want to spend time with such a plain bird, but he couldn't resist the opportunity to make fun of her, so he accepted her invitation. As they walked through the forest, the peacock kept pointing out how ugly and boring everything was. "Look at that dirty, muddy river," he said, wrinkling his nose. "And look at those nasty, stinky fish. Yuck." The crane simply ignored him and continued walking. She knew that the peacock was too blind to see anything beautiful, unless it was himself. Soon, they came across a small cottage made out of twigs and leaves. The peacock looked at it and sneered. "What a run-down shack," he said. "No wonder no one lives here. It's too ugly." Suddenly, the door opened and a little rabbit hopped out. "Hello," she said to them. "Can you help me find my way back to the burrow? I got lost in the woods, and now I can't find my way home," she said, her voice trembling. The peacock ruffled his feathers and rolled his eyes. "Lost again, huh? Well, if you want to find your home, you need to look behind you. I'm sure you left some carrot peels or something that would lead you back there," he said, pointing his beak in the direction the rabbit came from. The rabbit's eyes widened and she quickly thanked them both for their help and hopped away. The peacock puffed out his chest proudly. "See, I'm not just handsome, I'm also smart and helpful," he said, winking at the crane. The crane simply nodded her head and continued walking. She knew that the peacock would never change, but she didn't want to waste any more of her time arguing with him either. They walked on in silence for a while, until they came across a babbling brook. The peacock immediately rushed to the bank and peered over. "Oh wow, look at that," he said excitedly. "It's a bunch of fish. And look how shiny they are. They must be delicious," he added with a greedy smile. Before the crane could say anything, the peacock had already jumped into the water and was splashing around trying to catch the fish. The crane rolled her eyes and sighed. She knew exactly what was going to happen next. Sure enough, the peacock suddenly let out a loud squawk and flapped his wings frantically as he struggled to get out of the water. The fish had squirreled away from him, but he had gotten stuck on a rock in the middle of the stream. "Help! Help!" he cried. "Someone please help me." The crane quickly waded into the water and helped him free his tangled feet. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice full of concern. The peacock nodded, embarrassed and ashamed. He had never been so happy to see the reassuring face of the crane. As they walked back to her garden, he apologized for being rude and mean to her. "I'm sorry I called you ugly, and I'm sorry I made fun of you. You're a really nice bird, and you're very pretty in an elegant sort of way," he said, blushing. The crane smiled and ruffled his feathers. "Thank you, peacock. But remember, beauty isn't just about how you look on the outside. It's also about what you're like on the inside. Kindness, wisdom, and courage are all forms of beauty, too. And you have all of those things inside of you," she said, her voice soft and gentle. The peacock looked down at his feet, ashamed. He realized that he had been so caught up in his own vanity that he had forgotten about all the other important things in life. With the crane's help, he began to change. He started visiting the animals in the forest who were sick or injured, and he even helped build a new house for the rabbit and her family. He still loved to preen and strut, but now he did it with a sense of humility and gratitude. He knew that he was beautiful, but he also knew that it was only one of many wonderful things about himself. From that day on, the peacock and the crane became the best of friends. They helped each other see the beauty in themselves and others, and they learned that true beauty comes from the heart. The end. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed this story about the peacock and the crane. What did you think of the characters in the story? Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Also, remember to share this video with your friends so that they can enjoy it too. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on any of our fun stories. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.